Hi, welcome to Ready to Heal. I'm your host, Betsy Sawyer Galen, and today my guest is Peter Sonnenberg. Thank you for coming today, Peter.
Pleasure.
He's got a number of titles, but he's a transformational healer and a psychotherapist, and he is also a co-founder of a school.
School of Vibrational Healing.
A school of Vibrational Healing. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, how did you find your way to these things?
Great. You know, I'd have to say I didn't find it at all. I kind of stepped into it. I was a social worker, and one day I was getting ready for work. I was just in the shower, and this voice or voices said, "We want to use you as an instrument for healing." And they said, "Are you willing to do it?" And I said, "Sure." I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I just said, "Sure." They said, "Well, you have a lot to purify within your energy centers. And remember, we do the work, not you." So I said, "Okay, great."
Do you think this was something random that happened to you? Or do you think it's because did something trigger this in you?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, within myself, I was familiar with meditation. When I was 16, my mom got me involved in something called Silva Mind Control, which shows people how to use your consciousness to influence your life, heal your body, things of that nature.
Right. And did that work for you?
It was an amazing course. It was a great course, yeah. The aspect of the course which was missing, it didn't deal with feelings. And for me, that's the essence of life, is feelings.
Right.
And so after I got that experience in the shower, I totally forgot about it. And then the next 6 months, I was purifying deep stuff out of my life, emotional, physical, really uncomfortable. And I only realized much later that that was the process to make me clear to do this healing work.
And so did the voice come back to you?
Great question. And so 8 months or so after that shower experience, I was in a group meditation that I attended frequently in Manhattan. And at the end, the facilitator said, "Does anybody have anything to share?" And I said, "Well, I do. I just don't want to interrupt your experience." He said, No, I felt his presence here. And for the next 45 minutes, all this information and energy was coming out of me through the being that we call Orki, which is an acronym for orchestration.
And like about what time? When did this happen? Like in the 80s, in the 90s?
Yeah, it was actually in '89, so it was quite a while ago. I've been doing this for quite a while.
And so how many years were you meditating before this happened?
I was meditating since I was 16, and so I would say 76 to 89, I was in meditation.
And you hadn't had this kind of experience before? You just kind of meditated and...
Never had, I had paranormal experiences prior, which were a little bit weird, I would say, you know.
Like what?
Well, feeling beings around me that I really couldn't identify, and feeling sensations on my body as a young child, around 15 years old, that really shouldn't have been on my body, so to speak. But that I don't feel attributed to meditation. I just feel that maybe my energy field was very sensitive, and that entity picked up on my sensitivity and was there. But that was the first time I ever experienced actually hearing a voice within me when I was in that shower.
And now is that something that happens a lot now? That's like a
ongoing thing?
Yeah.
I feel many guides around me many times. I believe in angels, so I hear angels. A lot of my relations who have passed on, I'll see them and speaking to them, as well as very close friends. So, yeah, now it's kind of routine in a sense. Yeah.
Cool. So tell me a little bit about how you went on to co-found a school.
Oh, sure. So after I was a social worker and I stopped. I was just burnt out. And I took a year off waiting tables in Manhattan. At this time, I was also practicing yoga. I was just practicing and enjoying it, and then people started asking if I would teach them yoga after I took extensive classes. And I never, ever took the classes to become an instructor. So it just became itself. All of a sudden, I was teaching yoga, and as I continued that, my brother then got involved in polarity therapy, and again, it was just serendipitous. We kind of merged in that way.
So now, I know you told me before you don't do the polarity therapy.
True.
But can you tell me what that is?
Sure. Polarity therapy, and I'm speaking as not a practitioner. It's opening up specific energy points or meridian points within the body that hold congested or emotional energies in the body that need to be released. And as these energies are released, the vibrations or the chi within the body starts to become stronger, and then the lower vibrations, which we'll call pain, let's say, begin to get washed away.
So is that like acupuncture, or how do you open meridians in the body?
Again, it's not my practice. It's Jonathan's, my brother.
It's part of the school, though, or it's not?
It is part of the school, absolutely. There's specific points of the body and specific holds of the body that you influence the body with, and that will open up the energy channels.
And so he does the polarity therapy.
Yes.
And tell me about what you do in the school.
Sure. I do what's called transformational healing processes that work on two levels. The first level is to show people that we're all just living a story. We can call it a dream. And people take such positive actions in their lives, and they say, why is my life not changing? I'm doing all the right things, diet, exercise, meditation. Well, because the story is inside the subconsciousness. And until the subconsciousness is cleared, the person's just going to keep on doing the exact same experiences in their lives. So I show people how to change the internal story by accessing their subconsciousness.
Okay, so I'm very interested in hearing about that. How does that work?
Sure. So I bring the person into a trance state, a very, very deep state of relaxation. Then from that state...
So this is like hypnosis? Or?
It's kind of like a hypnosis state. Yep, I would say so, although I don't call it as such. And then when they're in the deep state, we go into the body. And whatever the issue may be, let's say they just ended a relationship and they feel a lot of pain. The key is the pain they're feeling in the relationship is not the issue. The pain is being mirrored by the relationship.
Right.
So then when I say, well, let's go into your body, where do you feel that pain? And then they might have various areas that we go into. Let's say it's in the throat. Many times it's in the throat. Say, well, describe it. What's going on in the throat? And they'll go in there and they'll start to see things that their subconsciousness shows them. And then the whole book just opens up.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, why do you think it's often in the throat?
Well, a lot of times when somebody is sad, their throat constricts.
Right.
And so when the heart is feeling something, we don't want the heart energy to come up to cry. Will constrict the throat energy.
Well, that makes sense.
And a lot of times in relationship, if it's not flowing well, we may choose to abandon ourselves and not speak our truth, and then all that energy gets stuck up in the throat chakra as well.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So what type of, do you work with illnesses or just general, what type of issues are best treated by this?
It's fully eclectic, to be honest. The philosophy that I run by is that 95% of our life is coming from our subconsciousness. So whether it's a physical imbalance, we can call it dis-ease, or it's an issue of low finances in one's life, or it's relationship or lack of relationship, whatever it may be, it's all a story. But I don't want to give the impression that people are to blame if something is happening in their life. It's not a blame story. It's a conditioning. And they've been taught that story. They've seen that story at a very, very early time.
Right. Well, what would a typical client, and maybe there is no such thing as a typical client, what would a typical client come for? Okay.
Well, let's just say that a person just had a loss, okay, and someone just passed on in their lives. That's a pretty big emotional issue. So a person will come to me for that, and we'll show that if they're an adult, okay, so I have to preface it, if a person is between 1 and 5, they're still cultivating their emotional body. But when we start getting into adulthood, our emotional body is pretty much developed. So the pain that we're experiencing has nothing to do with what's happening current. What's happening current is showing us what's inside of our emotional body.
Oh, that's interesting. And can you explain what the emotional body is?
The emotional body is where we have several subtle bodies. We have a physical body, of course, and then we have a mental body, an emotional body, an aura, an etheric body, and it kind of goes on for a little while. In the emotional body, where we hold our deeper sensitivities, our deeper emotional experiences. And every human being, very, very few exempt, have a wound in their emotional body.
Are there some people who are exempt?
I've never met one, but I know there are.
Oh, there are? Oh,
Somewhere in the Himalayas.
I'd love to see where they are. Yeah, no, that seems... So what would a person... So you're saying like a loss situation is what draws a lot of people to your...
Oh, no, Betsy. I mean, truly, a person will come to me for an eclectic. I see really the full spectrum of people, from physical illnesses to emotional distraughts to they want a perspective. Why is my life not changing? Why am I stuck in this career? Why don't I have a career? Why am I not in relationship? I keep on pursuing it. I do all the right things. Why am I not losing weight? It's really a full spectrum of things, or addictions as well.
Uh-huh. So can you talk a little about that?
In which respect?
The addictions?
Absolutely. So my premise is that the core addiction that every human being has is to thought. That's the core addiction. And every other addiction that someone has stems from that core addiction of thought. And then we look at our addiction to thoughts and the thought patterns that we're addicted to, which is our reality.
Uh-huh.
And when the pain or the emotional disturbance becomes too much because of our addiction to a specific thought, we want to medicate.
So that is a really interesting concept, because you're saying, and I've observed this, so I understand what you're saying on that level, and I know there are thought bodies, and they kind of run in like a little circuit.
Well
and
said.
It's interesting, but you're saying it's an addiction, and I understood, somebody explained to me once that when you have a repeating thought, that it's actually making like a little groove maybe in your brain. So it's actually like when they say it's a rut, you really are in a brain rut that you've made. And it's very easy to just go back. It's much harder to get out of the rut, because if you think of like a rut on a road, you just fall into the rut. It's very hard to walk on the side of it. So you have to just retrain yourself out of that. Does that ring true to you?
1,000% what you just said. Yeah, the pathways and the receptocytes within the brain actually do create exact energy patterns. And we keep on reproducing these energy patterns based upon our participation with thoughts. And that's key. Thoughts exist, but whether we participate with them or not, that's the biggest choice. And
people don't understand that they can consciously choose that.
It's really so true. A lot of people come to me with OCD, and I can say with great confidence that I can really, really assist OCD, because I had severe OCD from 3 years old to 18 years old. And the way that it was healed is, one day I was in college and I was arranging things in my ritualistic way in order to make sure my life wouldn't fall apart. And something in me said, enough. If my life is going to fall apart, it's going to fall apart. What I did was I changed my relationship to the core fear of that level of safety and security, because OCD is not obsessive control disorder. It's an obsessive control disorder, because we want to control everything.
Right.
And so that's what all the rituals are about. So we can look at the fear, but really look at it and stop trying to control it, then the fear doesn't have that impact. It doesn't mean that it goes away. Our relationship to it changes.
So I would love to understand. And you said you could do like a little demonstration.
Sure.
So I don't know. I mean, I can think of something that I'm working on right now, something that I'm trying to do.
Sure.
So how do we work with that?
Okay. So making believe that you just came into my office, and I would say, well, Betsy, what is it that you would like support with? What's going on? And then I would see that you would respond.
And then, so can it be just like something that I'm trying to do that's not happening in my life? That I'm
Sure, anything at all, absolutely.
Okay, so should I tell you?
Yes, please.
So I'm trying to sell a house that hasn't sold, that I need
assistance with.
Too.
Great. So what I would do, rather than bring you into the vulnerability of going deep into your own process, I would first bring you into your subconsciousness, and I would show you your relationship to the house. And the house is actually, believe it or not, a living being in a sense. It has an energy.
Yeah.
It's also an extension of you. So we look at this whole thing like a dream. When we look at a dream, everything is part of us. So then I would look at the house as an aspect of you, and I would see your relationship to the house and the attachment. So if the house is not selling, then there's something within your life which is saying, I'm not really sure I want to sell this house just quite yet. There might be a sentimental connection to it. There might be an apprehension to moving into the unknown, or just might be a first chakra experience of, I'm really familiar in this house. Even though it doesn't serve me, I'm really familiar and I like the comfort of familiarity. Those are hypotheticals. I'm not saying that that would be the issue for you.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So what I really want to emphasize is whatever's happening outside, we try to solve the external through external means.
Right.
And the key is, it's never the external, is never the issue. The issue is, what am I projecting onto it? What's my relationship to it? And when I change my relationship by knowing my story, everything shifts because the energy shifts, and everything is energy.
Wow. So now I'm very curious about how this works. So how many, like, say somebody came in and they had a health issue, like maybe they were dealing with cancer or something.
Okay.
Can the way you are working with me, like in this other situation, would that work for them too?
Oh yeah. I mean, people have come to me with cancer, many clients. One client, of course, it'll be fully confidential, and I'll only give the brush mark of the situation, came to me with cancer, and then through discovery, going into her body and bringing her back into the pain that she's feeling with the cancer, that she was holding a secret back from her children prior to their birth. And it was such pain that was manifesting through her body. And as soon as she saw that, there was incredible catharsis.
Wow.
And release going through her body, assisting the healing of the cancer.
And then did it heal?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But I'm not saying that that moment healed the cancer. I don't want to give it that type of credibility.
Yeah.
I mean, she was also doing other medicines and things of that nature, but it was definitely a catalyst for the healing.
A big piece.
Yeah.
And so how many treatments would a person, or could you not even give any?
It's a beautiful
idea?
question. You know, first I work spontaneously. Each person that comes in, I work with their energy. So I don't believe in protocols, formats, rules, or regulations in general for life, because life is spirit, life is energy.
Right.
So a person, generally they come in, I ask them, would you like to come back? So I want to put them in the driver's seat, because I don't want to take away their power, me being a therapist, facilitator, whatever word they'd want to give me.
Right.
I don't want to make decisions for them, because if they're in the power seat, then their body or whatever situation heals that much faster. They take responsibility.
So I guess I'm trying to just get a little bit of a benchmark, though, of like how many sessions a person would need first. Like, can you give me any?
Sure, Betsy.
I know it's vague, and I'm not telling you specifically, so I know you can't give me any definitive answer, but just kind of an idea.
Absolutely. I mean, there's some clients that come to me for specific needs that like to see me each week. There's some clients that may come to me once a month, and some are coming if somebody has an ongoing issue that I'm assisting them with, I usually like to take a week's break to let the energy clear through, and then I'll see them the next week. So on a bi-weekly basis, if someone's having an issue within their body, I'll probably see them twice a month. But if someone's going through a very deep emotional transition, they may see me, and several people do, every week.
And it's for a session would be like an hour.
A session's an hour.
Like
Yes.
Hour?
Yeah.
Cool. So
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you too about you brought a book here,
Oh, yes.
The Liberated Self.
Yes.
And I want to just show this. I'm not sure. I hope this is the right camera to show this to. And would you like to tell us about this?
Yeah. The draft of it was called The Manual for Living. And there wasn't too much of a catchy title, so we created The Liberated Self, Living in Union. And the essence of it really is a manual for living. It shows people how to journey through their life with a higher state of consciousness, a higher state of awareness, and ultimately showing them what is creating the struggle in their life. And that although as humans we will have pain, I mean, that's a given. And so if somebody has the conception that if I do something I'll never have pain again, it's a misconception, because it's just part of the nature of this dimensional plane called Earth. It's
Right.
not a punishment, it's just part of the growth process here. But we don't have to suffer with our pain. And too often people suffer with pain, and this book shows people how to live life in a more conscious, aware way so that they're not always hitting obstacles.
Huh. And so how would somebody buy this?
It's on my website. It's on digital form now. It's the easiest way. I used to bind it myself and sell it to people who came to my gatherings, but now it's on the website orky.com.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk to you too about how people. I know you are having gatherings in different places, different locations in Westchester.
Yes.
What happens at a gathering?
Thanks. So at a gathering, it's a meditation gathering. The reason we call it a gathering is because it's channeled. So I get into a tranced state, and the presence comes through me and creates what we call a vortex of energy. So it's a very, very high vibration fills the room. And every participant feels this very high vibration and brings them to a very deep, peaceful, meditative state. And while they're bathing in that energy, their energy centers are being cleansed and cleared, so their vibrations are being lifted, because it's the lower vibrations that keep us in pain. As we cleanse the lower vibrations and we raise our frequencies, there is a less place of struggle, pain, and limitation.
Oh. And how long are the sessions? What are they like?
Generally, it's around an hour and a quarter. The sessions are. People can lie down or sit. It begins with perspective. So Orky, the being that uses me for assisting, gives a perspective. It might be a topic of his choice, whatever it may be. It changes every time. And then after that, it's a very projection of energy throughout the space, and we go deeper and deeper into the energy. And while we're in the energy, he'll give perspectives of our lives, of patterns that human beings do that create unnecessary pain, suffering, and struggling.
So this is a being that you're channeling?
Yes.
And that's what Orky is?
That's what Orky is. And Orky is an acronym for orchestration, because different beings may come through me, but there's one main being, but I really don't know that one being's name, because it's a whole
that's
collective.
What some people, that's what people are saying. It's not necessarily a name.
Exactly.
So you do the meditations?
Yes, I do the meditations, the channel meditations.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how does if a person wants to try it out?
Sure.
How does that happen?
They can go to the website. Well, it's an open door policy. They can just knock on the door and come in. We give meditations in Riverdale, New York, and Manhattan, New York. And there's a full schedule on our website, again, orky.com. I think they're going to show it after your show.
Oh, okay.
The information.
And how much does it cost to attend?
$20.
$20?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting. You've got a full schedule. So is it like weekly, monthly?
It's weekly. Every Thursday of every week and Sunday we hold a group gathering, and then on every Monday we have a different, either a men's group, a women's group, or once a month we have what's called a light bath gathering, which is a really intensive, really strong meditative gathering. Very, very high energies.
Oh, sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you if anybody comes to mind, or any instance comes to mind of where somebody's had a profound healing experience.
That's a really good question. I just wasn't prepared for the question at the moment, and so I just can't think of a fast response right now.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Yeah.
You can kind of...
It's a beautiful question. I just can't come up with an answer at this very moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
The reason being, Betsy, is I really believe so strongly in confidentiality and the sacredness of all the sessions. And so if I speak of someone's really deep process, even if I don't use their name, I feel
You're feeling like it's a little too much information to give out.
Yeah, only because it's their property. It's
Yeah.
not my property. It's their healing.
Okay.
Yeah. So I really believe in the sacredness of energy, and a healing is a sacred experience.
Right. No, it is. Is transformational healing, is this more common in other countries or other places?
It's a good question. It's really a coin a phrase that we coined for our school, transformational therapy. It's what came to me, it was what was given to me. I should add, within the sessions, Betsy, if the client is comfortable with the language of energy, then I will get into a trance state, and energy will project it from me onto them, clearing their energy channels and go into the exact spot where their subconscious has brought us to clear out the energy within that area of their subconsciousness within their body.
And you're telling me that some people are uncomfortable with that?
No one's ever told me they're uncomfortable. I read the person before they come in. So if a person is more, let's say, conventional, I don't really want to give them a menu that would just make them uncomfortable. So it would be more conventional for them.
Right. So on your website, I see there were two different types of individual sessions that you do?
Well, there's individual, I guess what was probably misleading on that, it's the sessions that I do, which is transformational therapy sessions, and then vibrational healing sessions, which Jonathan would be doing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Jonathan does the hands-on work. I do not.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Very good. Is there anything that we haven't touched on yet that you wanted to bring out?
I just feel that the most important thing, which is what the school is really based on, is there's an energy that permeates all of existence. And many people have probably heard the name Source at this point. It seems to be pretty popular, light. We can even use the term God, although it's can have a lot of implications, the word God. But in any case, what the core of the school is for an individual to connect to this infinite field of energy, which is vibrating at a very high vibration of stillness. And as we connect to it, it influences our individual vibration and brings us to an extraordinary place of peace and harmony. And ultimately, that's the medicine. That's why it's called vibrational healing. As we connect to a high vibration, the vibration is the medicine for our lives.
Uh-huh. Ah. And you told me earlier that your mother, you credit your mother with kind of bringing you into this whole way of thinking and healing.
Yeah, at 16 years old, I was studying for exams in high school. I remember they said, don't study for the exam, you're taking this course, Silver Mind Control. So I definitely had no problem not studying for exams. So I did the was 2-weekend course, and it really opened up my life to how infinite our consciousness is and how we can influence things with our minds. Uh-huh. It's actually extraordinary. I'm always amazed at how conditioned we are by living in a box, by our creative mind being so invalidated and our cognitive and logical mind being so validated, when all of our power is in the creative mind. Yeah. Because ultimately what we imagine we can have.
Right. That's an Einstein quote. Thank you. We are running out of time. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Peter Sonnenberg, for being my guest. And this is Betsy Sawyer Galen saying thank you for joining us on Ready to Heal, and we'll see you next time.